We are going to continue on a little journey of self-discovery. And our goal is to slowly chip away at finding ourselves. And we're hoping that this process of self-inquiry, where you're asking questions to yourself and documenting them, then able to actually spend time to see it for yourself, will give you a deeper insight into who you are and where you have been and how to move forward and be more free and more yourself. So one of the things that we did last week, if you all remember, we made sure that we covered all the senses. You know, what we saw, what we smelled, what we felt, what we heard. Many times, all of those details are very critical to solving certain mysteries in your life. For example, why don't you like the color red or the color blue or the color yellow? Could be a lot of interesting details that we have missed when we're describing our first fears. Say if you had fear of certain kind of food, then you'll be able to detect how that came into your life. So that's why we're using the 5 senses in describing the fears of childhood, adulthood, and current. So today we want to do is that we want to actually find the patterns. Very, very important. What has happened as a child, your first experience of fear, there is an element of that that carries on throughout our lives to this day. Now, how does that work? When a child's life is being formed, their physiology, their psychology, and their neurochemistry is being formed from conception. They say actually from 5 months, the child is fully conscious. They're actually able to hear and perceive all of these experiences and emotions that the mother has, that the father has. Those emotions are formulating and reconstructing the emotions of the child. And then what we call the formative years is from birth to age 7. In yoga, we understand all the experiences from birth to age 7, those experiences are actually building a personality. Imagine you had experience of fear at that age, then what happens is that fear has had a tremendous impact in our lives, where that has subtly carried on to our life today. So yoga explains it is not just the emotions, those emotions are certain energies. And these energies are prevalent in our lives today. For example, if you grew up in a violent or an argumentative family, mother and father since birth, then that's going to change your neurochemistry quite a lot. And it's going to have, when you try and live your life now, there's going to be a certain series of emotions and chaos that are prevalent in your life today. Yoga actually very nicely explains all of the details. So what I would like to request now is Keshavi to please pair us in groups. And what we're going to do is in our groups, we're going to try and help each other or share with each other the patterns that you see in your first fear, and then your second fear, and your current fear. And if you don't mind to help each other as you do it, please write it down. So we want to see the details of the fear. for example, if you were fear when you were young, you were afraid of, uh, say, someone raising their voice. And then in adulthood, your story was about being in a classroom where the teacher was shouting and you felt fearful. And currently, if your fear is of people shouting or screaming or violence or loud noises, then you're able to see the patterns. There's a common pattern that comes in each and every one of these stories that you have documented. One of the good things about sharing your patterns in a larger group is that it'll enable you to, there is a fear of actually sharing, because then you feel like, oh, people are gonna judge me. It's a very subtle thing in our minds. So sometimes we hold back. So fear still holds us back. So only you can gauge if that is the case or not. So, but it's okay. We want everyone to feel comfortable and go through this process at your own pace and how you feel is convenient and comfortable for you. So today we have this important work is from that experience of fears. We would like you to write down all the emotions that you have been experiencing. For example, Martine, from her first experience, she has the feeling of not good enough, so unworthy. So she will write down the feeling of unworthiness. So these are called the sub-fears. From one incident of fear come many, many, many other layers of fears. And the four emotions that came out of fear, do you have you found the virtue in those things? What did you extract from those emotions? And then if not, how do you feel about them now? Is there more, other emotions such as anger, such as resentment due to those experiences? Or is there like, I really am not good enough? So those are the three categories. Those emotions will be categorized on how you processed it based on your psychophysiology. Is you have probably processed it and you moved on from it. And if you haven't moved on from it, or you're probably working on it. If not, you're still holding anger and rage against those experiences and you wanted to fight back, And the other is you just like, okay, whatever, it's, there's nothing I can do about it. I just like, don't think about it. So those are the three categories of emotions: emotions in the mode of goodness, emotions in the mode of passion, and emotions, your reactions, in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So is there any way we could spend some time this week, go over those emotions, and see what is your relationship with those emotions? Do you feel like you processed it? Do you feel like, you're still, it's nothing wrong to be angry and upset and have resentments, for those experiences. There's nothing wrong. In this experience of Chitta cleanse, we're not here to suppress. We're not here to impress. We are here to express. So please understand, there's no need for suppression. There's no need to impress. We're simply here to express and document it for ourselves. Was I able to explain the assignment for this week? Any questions?
If possible, do you think, Jody and Aaron, if you could give us a synopsis of the last 3 minutes of class, that would be great. Or just like, whatever you just said in the last few minutes, Veda, if I can have that in writing so I can read it again, that would be great. Because I know we're supposed to be looking at 3 different aspects, but right now I couldn't tell you what those 3 different aspects were because I was trying to pay attention and write at the same time and I kind of missed them. So if I could have something to read, that would be great.
Absolutely. Yep, we'll get it
Thank
and
you.
I'll double check it with you, Veda G, and make sure it's accurate.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. You're allowed to have all of those feelings, then we have to know what is the primary. Of the three feelings that you just mentioned, what is the primary focus of those three emotions? You have processed it and you're still angry and you still have resentments. Which one is the most dominant? Because if you have processed it, then the anger will not be as dominant. Resentment will not be as dominant. And if anger is dominant, that means you haven't fully processed it. That can also happen, but when you define the three emotions, what we need to see is what is the dominant emotion that you have now about that particular incident. Do you feel that, it's all good? There's no resentment, no anger. Or is there an anger that you're just suppressing it? Or you're trying to bypass it? One of the common emotions that we all go through when we go through this process in our lives is that we often try to suppress it or bypass it. It's like, oh, it never happened. I'm over it. It's all good. It's all suppression. Or we bypass it. Ah, it wasn't a big deal. I just, life goes on, man. I'm doing great. So we figure out a way to suppress it or bypass it, and we don't deal with it. So the way it works is that if you don't express certain emotions, then you're going to try to express that in your dreams.
Yeah.
So for example, you wanted to date somebody and that never happened in real life and the desire was intense. You were going to actually dream about that person and date that person in your dream. So whatever does not happen in real life, but you had a desire to happen, sometimes it'll happen in your dreams. So that's how life becomes complete.
Okay.
When we don't accomplish things, it happens in our dreams. See, you'd be surprised. You would be surprised how that one experience in your life, just one experience, because it's your first experience, and this is forming your neurochemistry. This is forming your perception of the world. It is so vital. It is so powerful that it will affect many, many, many layers of your being. Like I give you a simple example. This lady that I was working with, she remembers her mother and father arguing about aborting her.
Mm.
And the mother and father fighting about that. So when he comes into this world, I said, please talk to your mother. And mother confirms his story. So what came out of that story was very simple. She never felt valued in her life by her parents. She always saw her mother helpless, so she always felt helpless. All the emotions that her mother felt, all the rage that her father felt, she captured all of that in her life. So every time she tried to date someone, she can just hear those words and she backs off. And she's always trying to compensate, trying to, make this person and solve the problem because she wants to live. She wants everyone to be happy. She's always trying to sell herself short in every possible way to compensate for her mother and father arguing. So when I sat with her, she categorized there was 14 different aspects of her life is being affected on a day-to-day basis from that one emotion. She did not want to die. She wanted to live. And she was crying in the womb, pleading with her father, please don't kill me. This is what she remembers. So what I'm saying is that 4 is good. 5 is good, 6 is good. You'll be surprised when you really think about it, when you look at the patterns, and you'll see more and more different And it's completely fine. Our point here is to acknowledge it. And as we acknowledge it, we'll see how it's impacting our lives, and we'll learn how to deal with it. Each and every one of these emotions. So that's what our whole Chitta cleanse is all about. To be able to see it, we don't have to live there. We just see it, acknowledge it, and we see the impact of it, how much it's affecting our lives day to day, and how it's affecting it, and like really analyzing the details. And then we're going to give you tools on how to deal with it. So, it's not it's a beautiful journey of self-discovery. So